All right, let's get cooking. Welcome to the latest edition of Chin Check Sports Radio. I'm your host, JD. I want to thank you all for taking the time out to join us. And as always, we welcome any suggestions, feedback, comments, and criticisms, which improves the quality of our program, which ultimately improves your listening experience. Before we get started, we want to send all of you our thank you for your support. Again, people are slowly but surely finding out about who we are and what we do. They enjoy and respect the passion with which we speak. But as we tell you guys always, we do this because we love this, as we are simply sharing our passions with you all as we continue to build our listening army to take over the world. Dallas Cowboys Week 7. We take pride here at Chin Check Radio not to overreact to losses or gloss over wins. However, this game must be discussed. Ladies and gentlemen, humility tends to crystallize itself in the form of an ass whipping. For those of you who just missed what I said, I'll be glad to repeat it. Humility tends to crystallize itself in the form of an ass whipping. And that is exactly what the Dallas Cowboys got today. Folks, as we are doing this broadcast, the game has just ended. And if I was Coach Mike McCarthy, they need to be doing sprints right now, doing up downs right now, because they clearly did not practice this week. So let's jump into our statistics. Quarterback Dak Prescott, fresh off of his 1 week absence, a whopping 19 of 39 for 232 yards, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. And those 2 touchdowns were late when the game was over and they were down 30-0 to the visiting Denver Broncos. Ezekiel Elliott, a rather pedestrian day, 10 carries, 51 yards. Dalton Schultz, 4 catches, 54 yards. And Amari Cooper, 2 catches, 37 yards. Tony Pollard, 1 catch, 32 yards. CeeDee Lamb, 2 catches, 23 yards. Nothing from the offense. On the defensive side, Leighton Van Der Esch, 12 total tackles, 7 solo. Micah Parsons, 10 total tackles, 8 solo, 2.5 sacks, 3 tackles for a loss. Jaron Kearse, 9 total tackles, 5 solo. Folks, where do we begin? This game started off bad when the Dallas Cowboys went for 2 fourth down attempts and got stuffed, and you saw something coming. You saw something brewing that really wasn't going to be a good thing. In fact, it was a harbinger of things to come, and that's exactly what happened. The Dallas Cowboys were beaten from pillar to post. This is what happens when you read your press clippings. This is what happens when people tell you how great you are. This is fresh off of that emotional victory with backup Cooper Rush last week on the road against Minnesota. And they were flying high, feeling good, and people telling them how great they are. They were able to win without Dak Prescott, and they have all the talent in the world. And they clearly picked their extra week to take off besides the bye week they had a few weeks ago. Now, clearly on the offensive side was just totally awful on the offensive side. As me and my good buddy Julio State's teams tend to have those games where they just play awful and you just can't explain what happened. Now, we will say this. You had an offense who I didn't even agree with Terrence Steele being moved to left tackle. If anything, he should have stayed at right tackle. I still would have put Ty Niskey in because as well as Terrence Steele played at right tackle for the suspended Lyle Collins, he had an awful day today at an awful day at left tackle. So now the question is, how long is Tyron Smith going to be out? Again, I've been saying this, and he just start looking into his future replacement. It's been 10 years in the league. You're not going to get a full season out of him, and you clearly see the drop-off in production when they have Tyron Smith and when they don't have Tyron Smith. I definitely had a problem with that. You had Tony Pollard dropping wide-open passes. Amari Cooper dropping wide-open passes. But Dak Prescott played awful today. Even on the stat line reads 232 yards, the man had 100-something yards going into the fourth quarter. Had an awful game. I don't know what week of practice that he said he had, and we're going to get into that in a second. I'm looking at a defense, and we said this after the New England Patriots game. I noticed that they can be run on. You know, they were playing well up until that Patriots game, and the Patriots was finding holes in that defense, and the Cowboys D was getting run on, and we called it then. Well, this is what happened today. Again, this is why we don't gloss over wins, because you tend to overlook things that is now in your face when you lose. The Dallas Cowboys defense got their asses kicked today. They gave up over 190 yards rushing. This is going back to the 2020 Dallas Cowboys. So they have to right the ship. They must clean up their running game or their running game defense. I saw a lot of missed tackles. I saw a lot of guys trying to go for the turnover, and running backs are getting 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 yards a run while in the arms of the defender or after the initial contact. Trayvon Diggs, the leading candidate for Defensive Player of the Year, or one of the leading candidates, clearly did not have a good game today. In fact, probably had his worst game of the season, was beaten for a long touchdown pass, had a couple of bad penalties, so this clearly wasn't his best game. Again, this is that reading press clippings, people telling you how great you are, and this is exactly what they needed. What is also a cause for concern on the defensive side is that you're getting ran on by a Denver Broncos team who was without 3 of their starters on the offensive line. So again, this is stuff that needs to be cleaned up. The offensive line did nothing today, and that's not even counting Terrence Steele. They pretty much got whipped from the opening whistle, and this is why I say they need to be doing sprints right now. They need to be doing up downs right now. They need to be practicing in full pads all week, because clearly there's no way this team had a good week of practice coming out looking like this. They were lethargic. Besides the Tony Pollard opening return, you saw that instant jolt, and then you saw nothing else for the rest of the game. So next week they play the Atlanta Falcons, who is off the win against the New Orleans Saints on the road. The Atlanta Falcons has always played the Cowboys tough no matter who's on the field. So again, next week is not going to be an easy week next week. They're getting into a little bit of a good stretch of games here where they're playing the Falcons, travel to the Chiefs, they're playing the Las Vegas Raiders. So maybe this is that one game that NFL teams have where they just, besides their bye week, they take their own week off, from a mental standpoint. So let's just hope that this is the Dallas Cowboys week where they just took the week off. There's no point even showing the game tape. Move on and start preparing for the Atlanta Falcons. Again, that's going to be a tough game. But again, this is what the Cowboys needed. People have been telling them how great they were, reading their press clippings, and this is the team who played like it. They were talking about that now they have a path to the number 1 seed in the NFC due to the Cardinals and Kyler Murray being hurt, due to the Green Bay Packers not having Aaron Rodgers because he's out for COVID. So the mainstream media was telling everybody, of course, people listen to the ESPNs and the Fox Sports, that this could be the Cowboys' year to again be the number 1 seed. Again, that took a little bit of a hit today. So again, we're not going to overreact. We're not going to say the season is over. However, they have a lot of stuff to clean up. Some of the same stuff we talked about when they were winning games now is really in your face, the fact that they lost. I've been telling people, I'm not too convinced about Kellen Moore as a head coach just yet, and now people are now getting on our bandwagon. So again, not going to overreact, but some things they had to clean up, specifically that run defense. You saw a lot of guys out of position. I don't know why they had this obsession with putting Randy Gregory on the inside when he is in fact a defensive end. I'm really trying to understand that particular defensive setup. Micah Parsons, I thought he played solid. Leighton Vander Esch, again, is out of position. For some reason, his tackling is atrocious. I just trying to figure out how he actually tackles running backs. Again, Trayvon Diggs had an awful game. So a lot of things to clean up. Again, they need to be in full pads practicing tomorrow, on top of doing some extra sprints after the game, because they clearly didn't play their hearts out or didn't leave it all on the field during those 60 minutes. So they were at home anyway. Go and start doing sprints. So we'll see what happens next week. Again, playing the Falcons, another tough game, getting into a good stretch of games. We're only going to hope that this is a 1-week aberration. It doesn't become the norm. They can bounce back. They have the talent of bouncing back. Dak Prescott needs a bounce-back game, because this Dak Prescott looked like the Dak Prescott who played in the first half of games before he was injured last season. The run defense looked like the run defense that played last season. So time to right the ship, clean the stuff up, and let's just move on to next week. And it's Chin Check Radio signing out.